If you've ever been to a ceremony at Worcester's Korean War Memorial, you've seen Marine Corps veteran Dee Diveley leading or participating in the events. Dee served during the Korean War and is one of Worcester's very few remaining Korean War veterans. While Dee has dedicated much of her time since her retirement from the military in the late 90s to honoring area veterans and service members who have passed on, it is rare for her to talk about her own history. Despite her preferences to stay out of the spotlight, we were able to sit down with Dee to talk about her experiences in the U.S. military, what motivated her to serve, and why she remains such an active presence in Worcester's veteran community. Dee's birthplace was fitting for somebody destined to serve in the military.
Well, I was born in Gettysburg and lived there for about 2 or 3 years, and then my parents bought a farm.
Though her family relocated to a nearby town when she was a few years old, she had strong ties to the battlefield.
So we would always tour the battlefield, always with our cousins.
Dee confirmed that this played a part in her decision to join the military.
I've always known it. It's where I was born.
But her connection to Gettysburg goes beyond just proximity. Dee grew up hearing about her great-grandfather who actually fought in the Battle of Gettysburg.
It's just part of who I am. And my great-grandfather served in the battles in Gettysburg.
What solidified her decision to join was a movie she saw with her older siblings.
And my sister, who's 4 years older than me, my brother, who was 2 years older than me, all went to see From the Halls of Montezuma. And I walked out and said, I'm going to be one of those. I had no idea what those were. No idea.
Dee grew up helping on her family's fruit farm, and she attributes her strong work ethic to those early experiences.
Just get up and do what has to be done. And he never complained what it was. If he had to replant the field 3 times because the rain washed it out, he just replanted it. And it wasn't a big fuss over it.
The farm primarily produced apples at the time and is still in business to this day.
I lived on the farm, and now my nephew owns it. So it's still in the family. It was a fruit farm. It's apple country. And at one time it was #1 in the U.S. for apples.
One memory that particularly stands out for Dee was learning to drive in her family's farm truck, a retrofitted Model A.
The Model A's ran forever, and everybody could fix them. What they did was cut off the rumble seat and put in a flatbed. We used it on the farm to pick up the apples and tomatoes and things.
Dee signed up for the Marine Corps at 20, which at the time was young enough to require parental permission.
Well, I was 20 that year, 55. I think legal age was 21. Way back, you don't remember that. My mother wouldn't sign for me to go in service.
Oh yeah, that was one of the things I was going to get to because it's almost unheard of in the first place, so I was wondering about...
Oh, so I forged her name.
Do we want that on tape?
I don't care.
Like, what are they going to do, throw you in jail?
Yeah, right. I couldn't write like her, so I found somebody who could. And then I had to take her license to go have somebody else give it the stamp.
What was her reaction when she found out?
Nothing.
But she wouldn't grant you permission in the first place.
She said, that way you'll never blame me. I never blamed her for anything anyway. Daddy signed. Daddy signed.
Boot camp was a tough transition for her, not so much because of the physical demands, but the schedule.
They had me getting up the time I was used to coming home, and that didn't go over well. However, I still had to get up at the same time. But it was fun.
After training, Dee was sent to Cherry Point, where she spent several years serving during the Korean conflict.
Oh, I was stateside because I was a female Marine, and we weren't allowed to go overseas. I worked in data processing.
It was here that Dee met her first husband.
I believe you fell in love, if we will, with a pilot?
I did, which was against the rules.
After several years of marriage and 2 children, he was relocated to a base in Japan, and ultimately the marriage ended.
He got sent over to Japan, and I couldn't go. Every other branch, every other wives did, we couldn't. And that's what really did it.
Dee retired from the Marine Corps in late 1956, remarried, and raised her 4 children while serving in the Army Reserves, which she stayed in until her retirement from the military at 62.
I was out during Vietnam. I was raising children. And then when Desert Storm, I was activated, but in Maynard, at an underground compound. And I was activated there, 12 on and 12 off. And that was because I was in comm center, where we had a top secret clearance. And we didn't talk about it.
Her unit provided communication backup to FEMA after its creation in 1979.
When I was in the Marine Corps, way back in the day, I was with data processing. When I went with the Army Reserve, it was communications.
And
with the top secret clearance.
computers?
It was on computers and teletype. We sent messages. Messages would come through our office. Some were top secret and some were regular. You had to have a clearance to come in that room.
For a large part of this time period, she also worked in an office job.
I worked at Tom McCann's and then retired, and then I went in with FEMA. And I loved that because I was never home.
The transition to working for FEMA felt fairly natural for Dee.
A lot of FEMA personnel are military, retired military. I don't know now, but we were then. It was a lot of military.
She found herself traveling to disaster areas and conducting interviews with residents, sometimes spending months at the sites.
3 months was a long time for 7 days a week, 12-hour days. So I'd get home, I'd get ready to get to bed. It was time to get up.
For Dee, the long hours and high-pressure work were nothing she wasn't used to. But after a military career working in data and communications, being on scene was a big change.
I've heard people say it looked like a bomb, and I said to my son, because I've never seen what a bomb looked like. And my son says no, but I know what tornadoes look like and hurricanes, and they are not pretty.
Dee worked with FEMA for almost 20 years until retiring officially in 2014. Retirement for Dee is still an active time.
I feel very bad if I spend a day and do nothing. I don't think that's why we're here. There comes an old farm girl type.
She is involved with the Marine Corps League of Worcester, as well as the American Legion, and contributes to numerous events honoring veterans in our community.
I help to do the military funerals because to honor who has passed. I'm the commander at the Korean, so we just have 4 people left anymore out of over 100 and some we had. There are other ones here, but they don't belong to our unit, and I don't know them. And then with the Legion, we did a lot of work with the Legion when I was Main South Post. And then I'm the oldest member of the Marine Corps League down at the lake.
And in addition to her activities in the military community, she spends time with friends and her large family.
I have 4 grandchildren and 3 great-grandchildren. The baby's 6. They're awfully good to me and call me and come see me all the time.
Dee's family is very special to her, and she views them as her greatest accomplishment.
They did pretty well in spite of it all. How we did it, I can't tell you. It just kind of fell in place. Maybe not always a good mother, but you always love the kids. That's how I learned that motherhood is. Oh, that's a difficult job. Oh my goodness, that's a difficult job. And there's no training for it. My daughter's a great mother, and I don't think she learned it all from me. I'm pretty proud of them. Well, I'm proud of all the kids, really.
Looking back on her long, varied career, Dee says that the thing she values most was the camaraderie.
It has to be camaraderie. It's just a pride in the whole thing.
Her involvement with military-related activities and being with her veteran community shows her commitment to keeping that spirit alive.
Why do I do it? Because I like being around other military people. I didn't really ever think of it, but it's just, I don't know. I can't really explain it.
Dee recognizes that serving in the military can be emotionally complicated for service members. She recalls times where a so-called successful mission would leave her feeling more sad than proud.
It wasn't a wonderful experience, it was a sad experience when we saw the first bombs go off in Desert Storm. And I thought, what a shame, I'm sitting here watching. And if we're watching, why do we have to have it? I mean, it's not pleasant watching someone. But that stands out probably higher than anything.
She also expressed disappointment that while she served, there were many opportunities that she was not made aware of, likely because she was a woman.
I wish I would have had more knowledge of what all was available. Years ago, things weren't published like they are now. So I do regret that, but so go on.
Even so, she values her experiences in the military in contributing to something bigger than herself.
It's a purpose. We're supposed to be serving a purpose. And I mean, not even a housewife, you have a purpose, but I just like that one better.